Well, you've probably read her books or watched the television show based on her family, but do you know the full story behind the life and legacy of Laura Ingalls Wilder?
Well, living in DeSmet, South Dakota left quite an impression on her, so much so that it inspired her to write novels based on the time she spent there. In tonight's Eye on Kettleland, Jordan DeSmet takes us to the town of DeSmet, in which he shares the name to explain the inspiration behind Wilder's books that are still loved to this day.
Homesteaders started arriving to the DeSmet area in 1879.
It was named after Father DeSmet, who was a Jesuit priest.
The railroad is what brought people here, including Charles Ingalls, a railroad timekeeper whose family was the first to arrive in DeSmet. Of course, his daughter Laura was a beloved children's book author. Laura spent her first winter in DeSmet in this surveyor's house, which was originally along Silver Lake.
Laura would write about that house in her book, By the Shores of Silver Lake, and Laura, as a 12-year-old, thought it was a huge house when in fact it's a very small house. But she had been living in dirt dugouts and one-room shanties.
The surveyor's house is just one of the ways the Laura Ingalls Wilder Memorial Society helps you learn about Laura's story. You can also view family artifacts and step inside DeSmet's first school, which Laura and her sister Carrie attended. A few blocks away, you can check out the Ingalls home. Laura did not live there, but it was built by Pa Ingalls himself.
We have this history here where you can actually see the actual places that she lived and worked and studied in, and you can touch what she touched, stand where she stood.
Laura actually didn't write her first book until she was in her 60s. By then, her daughter, Rose, who was the highest paid female writer at the time, was the one who encouraged her mother.
When you see the letters between the two of them, you see how Rose literally taught, I mean, she basically gave her mother a college course on how to write. And so she's like, when you frame a story, this is how you do it. And when you develop a character, this is how you do it. And she is giving her not what to write, but how to write.
5 of her books took place in DeSmet.
She just is telling her family stories piece by piece as she goes. And as a result of that, DeSmet became the heart of the story because it was the heart of her maturing,
which helped put the town on the map.
She was one of the original founders of this town. Her work has made other people recognize this town and come visit it and see its history and see its value.
Laura's stories are something many can relate to.
It's a little girl telling you what it was like to be a little girl on the prairie. And that kind of history is so raw and human and relatable.
She was such a descriptive writer that they want to relive those books.
As readers immerse themselves in Laura's writing, they learn lessons with every page they turn.
Holy cow, what lessons can't you learn? The first thing I would say is resilience. She was resilient. Her family was resilient. The stuff that they faced and had to overcome shows what humanity can do when they're seeking the good. Because they did.
And in the decades since Laura published her first book, her willingness to tell her story has left a lasting impact on the town she once called home.
She is part of our blood. She's part of who and what we are. You can't turn a corner in this town without seeing her in some way, shape, or form. She's part of our history, she's part of who and what we are, and she will be here till the end.
With Eye on Kettleland, I'm Jordan DeSmet.
And staff at Laura Ingalls Wilder Memorial Society are also excited about a Little House on the Prairie reboot coming to Netflix. And there's also a Laura Ingalls Wilder homestead that you can visit near DeSmet, which will open again in late May.